Hello, everyone. Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for the finale of Blood Hunt. This is Blood Hunt issue number 5. We are done with Marvel's event for the summer, but what are the repercussions going to be? Let's talk about the creative team. We have writer Jed McKay with artist Pepe Larraz, colors by Marte Gracia, and Fer Cifuentes Sujo, letters by Corey Petit. What an exciting finale! I got to tell you this up front. Um, we won't be talking any spoilers in this issue. I'll probably make a separate video about the kind of like everything, the consequences, everything that's happening. But yeah, this issue wraps up in a really interesting way, setting up a lot of pieces. Last we saw here, Doctor Doom was asking to be the Sorcerer Supreme so that he would actually help. In the meanwhile, we saw that the Avengers and the Blood Coven were still fighting it out. Speaking of which, let's talk about some of the people involved in this event before we get into it. So, of course, we have some of the key players: Doctor Doom, Blade, who has been revealed to be Varney, Doctor Strange, Clea, the Strange Academy students who showed up in the last issue, Bloodline, daughter of Blade, Spider-Man Miles Morales, who's been turned into a vampire, Dracula. We have Black Panther, Scarlet Witch, Vision, Iron Man, Thor, Captain Marvel, and Captain America, Sam Wilson, that formed the Avengers. And we also have the Midnight Mission, Moon Knight, Hunter's Moon, and Tigra. And last, the Blood Coven, Bloodstorm 1, Smoke Eater, Cruel, Damance, and Unusual. And of course, we know that one of them has perished in battle. In this issue, a climax so brutal, so unnerving, with lasting ramifications for the Marvel Universe that we had to seal it in a polybag to protect Innocent Eyes from its majesty. That's if you get the red band version of the issue, which is the one that I read. Doctor Strange is presented with Dread bargain to gain a chance to save the world. The Avengers ride into battle that they cannot win. The dead battle the undead across the globe. This is Moon Knight and his army of Moon Knight, given by Khonshu. Will it be enough? Will the world be saved? And how will it be changed? Featuring a dramatic shift for the Marvel Universe. So yeah, this issue really kind of sets up all those pieces for this conclusion. Now, there's a very interesting parallel stories going on, right? We see the big battle going on a few pages, while we have everything that Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange are doing, as far as like trying to remove the dark force that surrounds Earth so that we can see the sun again. So interestingly enough, this all really comes to just a big clash. Both stories, of course, eventually interlace, but we see some fantastic fights. We see some great dialogue. I think Doctor Doom, Jed McKay, the way that Marvel's setting up Doctor Doom for something really big. I mean, with all the news coming out of Comic-Con, Doctor Doom's having a great year, I think. So very interesting. And of course, Pepe Larraz just giving us some of the most brutal fights, some of the most active, like even in the dialogue pages with Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange, it looks great. And yeah, just beautiful work. There's a few pages that the colorists just go all out because they're portraying magic. There's a few pages where we have big confrontation with Thor and Blade, or Barney, which is like a battle of gods. So let's take a look at some of the preview art. And here you can see here, like I mentioned, we still have the negotiations with Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange. Of course, Clea is not on board for any of this because she knows, and I think we all know that Doctor Doom probably has alternate plans. But as I mentioned, we have the big battle in Central New York, in Central Park in New York, and just going all out. The forces of Vanu, the Blood Coven against the Avengers. Now that they're finally regrouped, very cool stuff. I really love the character designs and just how dynamic the movements feel. Like you see here, Black Panther, or even this flying kick from Sam Wilson. And then, of course, as I mentioned, we have a battle of gods. So we have Thor taking on this Barney, who apparently they had met before in the Marvel Comics Presents number 63. So I might go hunt that down. Even this too, and of course, these preview pages are not from the Red Band issue. So like all this stuff is even more dialed up in that version. So interesting. The story remains the same, but the carnage remains a little bit higher. So Yeah, really enjoyed this event. The times were a lot of fun. I think everything that Jed McKay's writing, the Avengers, the Moon Knight book, that's really really cool stuff. I really love the Dracula tie-in. I wonder how that's gonna play out in the future because this book changes a lot of things, not just for the good guys, but also for Dracula and the vampires on Earth. So very very fun stuff. And of course, fantastic covers. You can see all throughout. You'll see some at the end of the video. So hello, everyone. Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for Ultimate Spider-Man #7. This is a new book from Marvel Comics. Let's talk about the creative team before we get into this book. We have writer Jonathan Hickman with art by main artist Marco Cicchetto, colors by Matthew Wilson, letters by Corey Petit. Main cover by Marco Cicchetto and Matthew Wilson as well as some other variant covers you'll see at the end of the video. In this issue, a new arc starts here. The Ultimates return after their intense battle with the Kingpin. Green Goblin and Spider-Man both know they are not ready to reshape the world as they hoped. Both Harry and Peter get to work, while Ben and J. Jonah Jameson, get to work on the truth. They got to find out the truth. And the problems for the Resistance arise when the Ultimates return. Yeah, this is um, a whole new ball game now for these guys, right? I love that Jonathan Hickman has been every issue begins with telling us what month it is. Now we know that Tony had mentioned to Peter and apparently also Harry that he would come back in a few months to test all those things out. Now we also have, interestingly enough, the version of Otto Octavius that is on this. It seems to be allied with Harry Osborn, or so. Like we don't know his true intentions. I think as a Spider-Man fan, anytime I see the name Otto Octavius learning and helping, like I get a little bit like there's some distrust there just because of the character, right? So yeah, it's really like there's some really fun kind of like clues or Easter eggs. I don't know what to call them on the art, but let's take a look at it, some of the art so you can see what I'm talking about. You know, obviously we are starting at Oscorp, and like I mentioned, every time we see the month, so we know that this is in July, and I just love seeing the arms of this is Otto Octavius working on the armor, right? He's he's trying to examine the technology both behind Peter and behind the Green Goblin suit. Both the Spider-Man suit and the Green Goblin suit are made from Stark technology, different technology. So he's trying to augment that. He's trying to make them both stronger. Um, and then they introduce a really interesting aspect, some kind of AI that is unlocked to like a little voice in the front of the suit. But I love just like the arms of Otto reaching everywhere. Right, he's drawn in the shadows and the shades a lot. Always wearing his goggles, so you can't really tell like the true intentions of him. And he takes samples from both suits, so like he's definitely. I can feel like he's planning something. Something's definitely gonna come up later on. Uh, and then of course, like unlocking like these certain level, like the list of AI consciousness that Otto pulls up, like you have Gandhi, you have Caesar, Napoleon Bonaparte, Lincoln, like or Octavius, like I don't know, like it feels like a weird list of AI to choose from to aid you in this battle. So yeah, there's something interesting going on. I feel like Spider-Man chooses to himself. He chooses his own version, so it's kind of convoluted, but I mean it's really fun once you get into the issue. Um, and then like I said, of course we have a lot more machinations. The story with I like that Jonathan Hickman finds time in these 22 pages to very efficiently check in on all the characters, right? We check in with Gwen and Mary Jane, we check in with Uncle Ben and Jonah Jameson, because they're still also working on stuff that we check in on with the Kingpin, which teases a lot of really fun things. So yeah, very efficient use of these 22, 26 pages. Um, and I just really love it, right? I think Marco Cicchetto's art is fantastic. So everything really, really works. Like there's the lab, the tone of the lab is so mysterious. So I don't know. I'm very excited for this issue. I mean, for this issue and for this series, it's definitely one of my favorite ones. So Hello, everyone. Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for X Force number one. This is a new book from the ashes, a new beginning for the X-Men line. Let's talk about the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Jeffrey Thorne with art by Marcus Toe, Eric Arcienega on colors, letters by Joe Caramagna. We have a really cool cover by Steven Segovia and Brian Valenza, and a plethora of other covers. And as you can see, this book will focus on Forge, Sage, Tank, who's not a character I'm very familiar with, Captain Britain, Ascani, who is Rachel Gray, and guest starring in this debut issue, of course, the Merc with the Mouth, Deadpool. So in this issue, a new path forged. This is a very Forge-centric issue. The world is fractured. Forge uses his powers of invention to devise the only fix, an all-new, all-different X-Force. Forge leads a custom-made, handpicked team of mutants with Rachel Summers, Betsy Braddock, Sage, Surge, and introducing Tank in off the book's missions so dire, so integral to the faith of the Marvel Universe. There's no time to stop for permission. As Forge detects increasing threats across the planet, he will recruit a specialist for each target. First up, that regenerating degenerate Deadpool. Be here for an X Force like you've never seen him before. Stick around to see who joins, who lives, who dies, and uncover the mystery of Forge's discovery. So yeah, this is a very interesting concept that Forge is putting this path together, or this group together, to take on these threats of the world, right? Now, Surge is a character that we do meet here. That's why she's not part of that original roster in the first page, but she is in the cover. And then, of course, we stumble into Deadpool. I also don't know much about Tank. Even after this first issue, I think we still have a lot of stuff to. We still have a lot of things to learn. But yeah, Forge is he's kind of in a bad place at the beginning of this book, right? He's worried about the world. He doesn't know how to help. He doesn't know how to fix things until his he's been running like a model of simulations. Of course, his powers are very interesting in a way because he doesn't have actually like he just has the power to build things to fix problems, which is he doesn't just generate this machinery or whatever. Like he still has to try it out, so it's never something that's going to work on the first time, right? um I will say the book to me felt very straightforward. Like this is just let's put a team together and go on this kind of first mission. So in that part, it was not something that hooked me right away because I've seen groups come together before. It is an interesting group, but I don't know that we spend enough time with each of them to really hook me so far. So I'm gonna check out issue two. I think that that'll give me a better idea of what this book is trying to accomplish. Just on its own, this first book, it didn't feel like anything too new or too fresh. It definitely just felt like, hey, here's a good solid book. It's got great art. Uh, Marcus Toe has to work with a lot of characters, specifically in the first few pages. So let's go take a look at some of that preview art. So here we have Forge running simulations as to try out these teams. So I think this is a little bit of a clue as to some of the teams that he may be putting together in the future. I think it's a fun device to leave the door open, right? To really kind of introduce any character as needed to this new X Force. And then we see here, uh, but yeah, I've never seen Forge in this fashion where he's just kind of down and out and uh, feels like almost as if he has lost all hope until this moment, this vision arrives. Now that he's finished working on this device, so that's going to be interesting to follow around. Also, interestingly enough, his AI assistant is actually Henry McCoy, which is a younger version of Beast. So that'll be fun. And yeah, I don't know. This book, like I said, I think it's interesting. It's got some really interesting concepts. It just didn't fully hook me there. But there's some fun battles and stuff that happen later on in the issue. And of course, once Deadpool comes in, like things go awry. But I want to know more about Surge. I want to know more about Tank. I think those are really interesting characters, or at least they look interesting for now. So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I'm a little bit, I think this book is fine. I don't know that it blew me away, in the way that I feel some of these number one issues should, right? This is a hook for a lot of readers. So, but I don't know. Let me know, what did you think about this book? How do you feel about this team? Hello, everyone. Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for Dracula Blood Hunt number 3. This is the last issue of this miniseries. So let's talk about the creative team here. We have writer Danny Laurie with art by Vincenzo Corratu, colors by David Curiel, letters by Joe Sabino, fantastic cover by Rod Reese. I just love that cover of course, Dracula facing up against Brielle. So let's talk about this issue, though. Um, in this issue, what cannot be done is what must be done. The vampire scourge continues to ravage Earth as the blood hunt rages on, and Dracula must move to a certain place in the hierarchy of the night. That is, if he can convince Brielle, aka Bloodline, to bend to his will. Unfortunately, she's a teenage girl, and convincing her of anything will take every ounce of the immortal Lord of Vampires has at his disposal. Uh, I read that synopsis and I do think that, of course, that's kind of what's happening, but this is just more of a test of Brielle and her willpower, her conviction, her willingness to do what needs to be done. And I think Danny Laurie really explores that in a fun fashion. All that juxtaposed in parallel the story of Dracula, who is trying to make her go through this journey in his own specific, Dracula way. Um, it's interesting. It's interesting how good of a combination of characters this turned out to be. Like, just really fun people that or characters that I wouldn't expect to work together. Of course, they made a really good pairing. And Vincenzo Carratu's art just really brings it all over the top. Let's take a look at some of that preview art. And here you can see Brielle and the entity Varney that we met in the last issue of Blood Hunt, as she's trying to be brought over to the dark side, if you will. But yeah, Brielle, like I said, she has a very strong will, a very strong character. I do love that her lettering is like really bright pink. It really pops in the page, especially when you're reading this digitally. Yeah, the color grading on this really works. And yeah, I love Karatu. Like, this is kind of a dream world. This is all inside of her mind, or a mindscape of sorts. So yeah, things kind of tend to get a little bit wobbly, a little bit weird. So even the paneling starts to kind of go from these rigid panels into these more like loosely kind of leaking almost type of little panels here. And we see finally Brielle maybe talking to Blade, her dad, maybe not. We, after all the revelations of Blood Hunt, uh, can she really even trust everything that's going on in her mind? But I think Dracula, interestingly enough, has enough faith in this character, in Brielle, that she will come out the other side. But even if she doesn't, like, Dracula, he's Dracula. He's not really worried about it. So this was a really fun miniseries. I would say this is one of the ones that I would recommend checking out, um, because it really colors in a lot of the Blood Hunt. And then, of course, you have Dracula, who, of course, will have to play a big role in this. I love that the series is named Dracula, because it really feels like a misdirect, right? They didn't want to give away that this was really about Brielle's journey. So that was really fun as well. So if you have read this, let me know. What did you think about this issue? What do you think about the implications of this for the larger Blood Hunt event? And of course, let me know, your other thoughts. Let me know what cover you ended up picking up. Hello, everyone. Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for the Invincible Iron Man number 20. This is the finale of this series. So let's talk about the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Gary Duggan with art by Andrea DeVito, Brian Valenza on colors, letters by Joe Caramagna. We have a really cool cover by Kel Nyo. And then we have some other covers by Dave Watcher, Juan Figueri, Brian Valenza. You'll see some of those at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. And in this issue, the war is over. The war with Orchis is over. What does the future hold for Tony and Emma Frost and Rhodey? Like, everything that we've been seeing through this. This issue, I think it's a great epilogue. Really, with a pretty definitive end for, I would say, one of the most maybe divisive or controversial parts of this run, which was the relationship between Tony and Emma. Uh, whether you were for it or against it, like you're gonna you kind of be upset either way, right? If you're against it, then they really had got married and they went through that. But if you're for this relationship, you do see that we end up kind of breaking up that relationship. So, but Gary Duggan just really brought and managed this really well, I think, during the run. Their chemistry was amazing. Like every time they were on panel together, I thought it was really fun. And it just really feels like that is a part of Emma Frost. Maybe we haven't explored as much. So yeah, it wasn't. I don't think their relationship was only like to play out the events and kind of stay under the radar for Orcus. But yeah, I really like it. We need to come up with a couple name for Tony and Emma, maybe like Frost or something like that. I don't know. Leave a good name in the script in the comments of the video. So let's take a look at some of the art because a lot of what really works for this is DeVito's art, right? We begin with the trial of Rhodey because of course he kind of did escape out of prison, but Tony and She-Hulk are able to prove that you know, Rhodey's not a bad guy. He doesn't deserve to be in jail. Like his name should be cleared. It was all part of those machinations. This issue really focuses a lot on the fate of Fei Long after this, and I think Gary Duggan very smartly is tucking this character away for later, if need be. Right, he's just kind of imprisoned in Mars. We also get to see a really fun look at the relationship between Tony and Rhodey. Like we see them play basketball in their armors, and then stuff starts to happen. And then we finally see all the stuff to finalize Emma Frost and Tony Stark's relationship and their arc. So yeah, this was really fun. I really enjoyed this series. It had been a while since I pulled Iron Man at the comic shop. So I'm really glad that Gary Duggan and the team for all these 20 issues give me such a cool, fun story to make me excited to go pick up Iron Man every week. So we'll see. We get a little hint at what might be coming in the future. I don't know. I'm definitely going to check it out, but I don't know if it will be as strong as this. We'll see. I'm always willing to check out a new series. So if you enjoy this run, let me know what did you think about it down in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. And stay tuned because we have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.